Warning! Warning! The content discussed on this show is not necessarily the opinion of the cast of Spiritually Raw, and topics quite often are for mature audiences only. So, if you happen to have your 13-year-old listening in, that's your problem now. This is Spiritually Raw, the ass-whipping truth, where spirits meet skeptics and consciousness connects. Together, we expose and explore controversial truths, myths, and theories surrounding the spirit world. Now here's your host, AJ and April Mata.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Spiritually Raw. That number for you to connect with us is 321-473-4253, and all you Skype users out there can type it in as one word to connect with us that way, Spiritually Raw. And you can also go to the site right now, spirituallyraw.com, and chat live with us. So listen, hope everybody had a great weekend, and stayed nice and cool from wherever you're at. And it's like all the debt crisis stuff's almost over, right? Is that what they're saying?
Oh, God, I'm so sick of hearing it every time you turn the television on, every single solitary channel.
But you knew it was going to be over, right?
Of
I mean,
course.
it's just a whole play on things,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so that's cool.
Absolutely.
Everybody. Again, we got special guests coming up today, Cosmic Dancer, a reincarnation fantasy for young adults and older souls. So that's coming from Leanne's perspective, so we'll be hearing that very shortly. But let's start our show first and get this thing going.
It's time for the Raw Factor. During this segment, the guests will have the opportunity to deliver their message, showcase their personality, and share with the audience and cast why they will be a credible and entertaining source of information. Back to you, Jay.
Okay, who's up first?
Up first, we have Love Colors, Auras and Clues by Pamela Osley. And she says, she explains that auras contain important clues to personality traits and shows how these remarkable energy fields can help readers find the perfect soulmate. Sounds interesting. I think this is a new one. She says, with this new insight, you'll become more accepting of yourself and others, learn effective methods for changing unwanted behaviors, and discovering new paths to healthy, fulfilling romantic relationships.
All right, let's welcome Pamela to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Pamela, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So listen, okay, let's get started with you here. What exactly are auras?
Is it aura or aura?
How you say it, aura or aura?
Aura. It's
Aura, okay.
A-U-R-A. Aura, doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're, according to the physicists I've studied, they are electromagnetic fields or biofields, whichever one you're talking to. They're basically energy that radiates off of us, AJ and April, and we've all felt them, even if people can't see them, we've all felt them. That's why if you're around somebody, there's certain people you feel really drawn to and you want to be close to them, and other people you can't get far enough away because you're feeling their energy.
Is there an amount of aura colors that are out there?
Well, you know what? I think everybody's different, and they seem differently, just like we all taste food differently. I see 14 different colors of auras.
So are you a psychic?
I am.
Oh, what are the odds? Okay,
You must be psychic.
gotcha. Okay, so when you see these colors, what do they tell you about people, and how specific? I mean, how specific are they, the color, to the actual personality trait or what's going on in their moment?
Very specific. So what I tell people I see is about 6 feet of different colored bands out from people, and the 1 or 2 colors that are closest to the person's body are what reveal their personality, basically the theme that they've chosen for this lifetime. And
be sure to register your copy of Sam at www.spatialaudio.com. You'll feel warm and squishy inside once you do.
Violets are the visionaries. They're old souls. They just know things. They can jump from 1 to 50 very quickly. Violets are here to make a difference on the planet. They need to communicate with the masses. Violets in power are awesome. You guys know things that they don't know why. You don't know why you know it. You just know it. When violets are out of power, they can get frustrated with humanity. It's like, why don't people know this? Come on, come on, come on. And violets, I have always felt ever since they were young that they were here to do something bigger or more important. And none of the other aura colors feel that way. Violets just think what they see is common sense.
That's a good way to get a vote for I tell you, that's a great way to get a vote.
Forget about you. What about me?
April, you've got a lot of yellow and violet, so it's funny because yellows have a sense of humor. They're free-spirited, but man, are they stubborn. So, but you've also got violet too, so you guys have good combination. Violets also see things, and they're way ahead of other people. So two violets together can be awesome as long as they're sharing the same vision. But yellows are creative. They're fun-loving. They need variety. They want to do some of this and some of this and some of this. So yellows usually have a sense of humor too.
So how do you like, for example,
That's
like
pretty cool.
You know how you walk into a place and Pamela, and it's just like you mentioned earlier, and you could feel that. It's like when people say, "Oh man, that's messed up energy." Is that the aura you're feeling then, not so much the energy?
Or their personality?
Both. That's what an aura is it's an energy field. So if you've ever walked into a room and there's been a couple fighting or tension, man, you can really feel it. Or you walk into a room and somebody's really calm and peaceful, you can feel the energy in their space. It's not, we radiate, we broadcast who we are all the time. So it fills our entire environment.
So is the aura the person's personality, or is it their energy field, or is it a combination of both?
It is a combination. It's funny, I explain to people that I believe when we came here, we kind of left breadcrumbs behind in case we got here and we forgot what we were going to do. It's just like astrology, numerology. It basically reflects back what you've chosen. So it is the personality, and the different colors in your aura basically reveal that personality. So, for example, someone who's a blue, and Leanne, you have a little bit of blue in your aura. You got more spunk than that, but blues are very loving and nurturing and emotional. Blues watch commercials and they tear up, and they're typically the teachers and the counselors and the nurses on the planet. And most people turn to blues with their problems because they know that they can trust a blue. Blues will care about them no matter what. So, yes, the different colors reveal the person's personality.
Is there really anything to this, Pamela? You know how when you talk to people and they're like, okay, before you get in this conversation, put the white light around you or put this to protect your aura. Is there really anything to that?
Is there any validity behind that?
AJ, everybody's different, and some people, that's how they believe. I don't do that because I believe, if you have a belief that there's bad things out there, you're going to attract that energy and you're going to create that in your life. I don't tend to do that, but
now that's so interesting. You're the first person ever, especially the first psychic, and God knows we've dealt and spoken to many, many, many psychics, that I've ever heard anyone actually admit live on air that there is no validity or not real validity behind having to protect yourself with white light.
So you want to give her a round of applause for that?
I really do.
That make you happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think she just said it. If that's what you think, then that's what you're going to get.
Okay, so you mentioned these different levels, Pamela, of auric fields, and there's the how do you say it? There's the ones that are out, and then the inner ones. Which are the ones that can't change? Those are the ones closest to you?
I had to say something else.
The two colors closest to your body. That's what I call the life colors. And I categorize them into three different families. They're the physical colors, and those are the colors that get what's real in life through their physical bodies. So those are reds, orange, magentas, and yellows. And then there are the mental colors, and those are the colors that process life through analyzing it, through getting it through logic and data. And those are 4 different types of tans. Yes, I see tan in an aura, and greens. And then there are the emotional colors. Those are the colors that get what's real through their intuition, their inner vision, their emotions, and those are blues, violets, indigos, crystals, and lavenders.
So wait a minute, I've got to go back and revert to one thing that I started to say. Okay, so you know how you said about it's not really necessary to put the white light. So taking that same theory, if someone believes that it is going to help them, will it help them? And if someone doesn't believe, okay, so then if you have the other person who says, I think that's a bunch of, like my mother, for example, that's a bunch of cockadoo, and she doesn't believe that it will work. For her doing it, it would not work. Is that correct?
That's right. It's the same thing with taking medication or vitamins. They have the placebo effect. If somebody believes something is going to work, it's going to work.
Okay, so
I never mess with people's beliefs. If they want to believe that white light is going to help, they should do it.
Right,
then it's going to make them feel better.
Right. I'm not discounting it at all. I'm just getting clarity.
So is there such a thing as like aura balancing?
Well, remember I said everybody's different? I know a lot of healers, and that's what they do. They heal people's auras. Now, the way I work is I see if people have if they're angry, if they're upset, whatever, it will show up in their aura, but I don't believe their aura is going to change until they change something within them, inside, their emotions, their thoughts, their beliefs, their anger. That's how I work. I will never discredit somebody else's work, but I believe you have to change from the inside, and then it shows up in your energy field.
So now you said the colors closest to your body, are they're the permanent colors? Like, are they the colors you were born with, but the exterior colors change? Do the interior always stay the same?
Well, not that I would limit anyone, because I know that, yellows and greens are certain colors that don't like being told what to do, so I will never say somebody cannot change their colors. In my experience of doing this for 27 years, I've only seen about 4 or 5 people actually change their life colors. Everybody else, pretty much, it's what they've chosen to do in this lifetime. It's the theme. It's their personality. So people can be in power. So, for example, yellows in power are spunky, funny, energetic. They've got a lot of life energy. They're creative, or they're natural healers. When they're out of power, they get lazy, flaky, irresponsible. They're addictive personalities. They don't want to work at all. So out of power, and if somebody says, well, I changed my aura, and I go, no, you just changed from the downside or the negative side, the out of power, into power. So that's when they think they've changed their colors. They've just shifted the positive side of it.
So how did those few people that you met change their colors?
You know what? My experience has been that they've been done with it. Like somebody was a blue and a green, and they did it. They fulfilled their life purpose. They were over it. They go, okay, I've done my life purpose. I want to do something different now, and they've changed to something like a lot of people, AJ, are adding violet in their auras now, because people go, I want that violet. I want to do something bigger. I want to go travel. I want to work for myself. Violets usually don't like being employees. They have to be more dynamic. So that's usually when somebody changes it.
Yeah, I'm pretty unemployable.
You're definitely unemployable.
Yeah, I said I'm pretty unemployable.
You are.
Yeah, I got to do my own thing.
I know. I can tell. That's because you're a violet. Violets are very independent, very much about, they get frustrated with people if they have, other people have short vision. So violets really need to move at a fast pace and do it their way.
Jess, would you agree with that about Jay, or would you disagree about that?
No, she's right on.
She's right on.
Hey, everybody, we got to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll just ask Pamela a couple more things and then move to our next Raw Factor contestant, so hang tight.
Studio designs gemstone jewelry and wellness programs for healing mind, body, and spirit. Stonewater Studio is dedicated to products and programs that encourage wellness and balance. Each piece of jewelry is designed and handcrafted with therapeutic gemstones and crystals to help you feel better, look better, and be better. Receive a 10% discount today and help the homeless. Enter code JENNI10. Jenny Paul donates 10% of proceeds to Help for Homeless, LGBT, teens, and young adults. Purchase your gemstone jewelry today. Go to www.stonewaterstudio.com.
We're back with Spiritually Raw. Call in today at 321-473-4253. Join us at spirituallyraw.com. And now more ass-whipping truth.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Spiritually Raw. So, right on with Pamela. Pamela, one last question I have for you, and before we move on here, is that can people actually, can other people or external, if people have, a funky aura, let's call it a funky aura, can they affect your aura in any way? And can they attach? Can the auras attach, or like how like people talk about like cord cutting, or you got like this person or this entity that's attached to you? Can they attach that way through your auras?
Well, no, that hasn't been my experience, but I know a lot of people believe in that. I do know that we can affect each other. I've seen people add colors to their aura because of who they were married to. So, yes, we affect each other, but I've never seen, I'm not into possessions. I'm not into somebody going, some evil spirit is taking over your aura. It's like, okay, it's not where I go.
All right.
So do you believe that can be done? Can an evil spirit mess with your aura?
I will say it this way. One, I don't believe in evil spirits. I know a lot of people do. And two, if people believe that there are demons out there that can mess with their aura, then I'll bet you anything they're going to experience that.
Oh, gotcha. I know Jenny just got a fan there, right? Jenny.
Yes. Very interesting.
Jenny, what do you think about Pamela?
Psychic.
Well, I agree with what she's saying totally about the evil entities, and if you believe in them, they'll show up, and if you don't, they won't. So I'm right on track with her, and I'd like to know what color she thinks I am.
Oh yeah, you know what color Jenny is, Pamela?
Jenny, let me get a visual of you real quick, okay? What color hair and eyes do you have?
I have hazel green eyes, and I have my hair color naturally is a darkish brown, but it's been treated.
Man, are you a spunk? Holy cow. You know what? You're a violet green who's got a little bit of yellow. And again, violets they're old souls. They're visionaries. They just know things. Actually, violets are the most intuitive of all the aura colors, and blues. So you got a lot of spunk in there, kiddo. You have a lot of things that you know that a lot of people don't always listen to, but you're pretty bright.
All right.
Thanks.
So
I tried telling them.
They just don't.
I'm just going to say, Jenny just got her validation.
They just don't listen to me. They never seem to listen to me. All right. Hey, listen,
Only tell them.
I know. So, Jenny, is that a vote yes? Did you like to hear more of Pamela?
100 billion yes.
Yeah, all right, on. Okay, listen, and if you all...
I give her 100 billion yes, too.
You would, too, okay. And if you'd like to give Pamela 100 billion yes, go to the Raw Factor tab right now and vote, where we're going to be giving out these results on Friday. So, Pamela, thanks for coming on the airwaves for this.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you got it. Take it easy.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, who's up next?
I liked her. She was right to the point. Okay, Raw Factor number 2. The Grand Sheikh and founder of the Fatima Sufi order, Nima Azel. And he says there is no God but the Godhead. Fatima is the face of the Godhead. He also says, you know what? It's a fallacy and a lie to truth to claim that victims of evil have karmically chosen their lot. Karma does not work that way. And this is what I've said over and over again, that the New Age subcultures and their popular mainstream teach about karma is categorically false. And he's here to talk about, and I hope I do get this right, Bahaism, the New World Order cult / religion.
Okay, let's bring on, is it Grand Sheikh?
Yes.
Let's bring him on. Greetings. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay, so what's this, how do you say it? A Fatima Sufi order?
Fatimiyya Sufi order.
Fatimiyya Sufi order. Okay, can you tell us what that's about?
The Fatimiyya Sufi order is basically an order that came out of a lineage known as the Gnostic religion of the Bayan, which was the original, what is called the Babi movement that Baha'ism eventually came out of. And this is an esoteric post-Islamic movement that originated in Iran in 1844, a deeply mystical and esoteric faith. And subsequently, there was a schism in the 1860s, as a result of which the Baha'i religion or the Baha'i faith came out of. And in 2005, myself and several other people, we revived the Bayani religion in the form of the Fatimiyya Sufi order. Basically, what we represent is a celebration in a Iranian post-Islamic form of, number one, the divine feminine, and number two, the esoteric teachings of the founder of the Bayani faith, which was the Bab.
Okay, so how long has this Bayani faith been in existence?
Since 1844.
Since 1844. And then, so how long have you yourself been embraced in this?
He said 2005.
Yeah, that's how long it is for you?
2005, the Fatimiyya formally came into existence. But I was, one of my ancestors, a woman by the name of Qurat al-Ain, this woman that has been the subject of a lot of studies in the academy. She was technically Iran's first feminist. A woman who tore off the veil in 1847 in the Shiite shrine cities in Iraq, and subsequently was martyred in 1852 for her beliefs. She was my ancestor, actually my great-great-great-grandmother. And the Babis, or the Bayanis, believed her to be the return of Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet of Islam.
Okay, so now what do you see happening now? What's your experience about what's transpiring now with this order coming out?
Well, there's been a lot of interest, and we're diffusing the work. I was actually invited a couple of weeks ago by the School of Oriental and African Studies here in London to give a lecture on the religion of the Bayan, and that went very well. There seems to be a lot of interest from academics because a lot of this material has been systematically suppressed by the Baha'is. They have basically peddled a narrative of the religion of the Bayan that is not actually accurate. They appropriated the narrative, tried to claim it as their own, and went out of their way basically for the last 140 years to claim that the Bayanis didn't exist. And I made contact with the Bayanis in 1999, and when they found out about my pedigree with my ancestor, we started sharing works, and it all resulted in 2005 in the birth of the Fatimiyya Sufi order.
Okay, so like as a grand sheikh, what would that be comparable to? Like if you were a Catholic, would that be like a
priest?
like a pope, a bishop? Like what would that be compared to?
It would be, I guess, like a bishop. Yeah.
Okay, so you're like a bishop. Okay, so let's get into your views here on karma. Why do you feel that mainstream teachings of karma is categorically false?
Because the popularized notion of karma is very simplistic. I've read quite extensively in the tantric and in the Hindu texts, especially in the philosophical tradition. And karma is, to put it in very simplistic terms, is the chain of cause and effect that originates in worlds beyond our own and goes even beyond our own world at the same time. What the New Age subculture is teaching about karma on one level is very simplistic, and is also, in my opinion, it's a form of psychological reversal. For example, there are certain groups out there that say that anything that happens to you in your life, you have chosen in a previous life. That is kind of reducing what the original teachings in India have said about all this to a very crass level. It's a very popularized, very whitewashed and unsophisticated level of understanding these teachings.
So you don't reap what you sow then?
You reap what you sow, but every act also comes with a chain of cause and effect that even transcends the act itself.
Okay, so for example, if in a last life one was a murderer, are they going to get murdered in this life? Are they going to experience that, or is it just a totally another game for them in this lifetime?
It could be another game entirely. And let me bracket this by saying something. Maybe a lot of your viewers are not aware of this, but in some of the highest philosophical teachings in India, such as the Vedanta, reincarnation is actually not even believed in. And the reason is very simple, because the teachings of the Vedanta say that the one and only transmigrate is the Atman, which is the reflection of the eternal. So there is no individual instantiation of a soul that eternally transmigrates in its own individuality. Everything is constantly in a state of flux. But this flux, the stability of this flux, is the eternal, which is the Atman, the oversoul.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So from your perspective, where do we go when we die? Do we merge with a source? Do we go to a heaven? Can we go to a hell?
There are worlds. There are hellish worlds. There are heavenly worlds. But beyond that, the source is infinite. Okay, our limited minds cannot conceive of the nature of this thing. But there isn't a time where you could say that once I drop the body, that I will merge with the totality of the source. It is possible, if you have developed yourself spiritually in this realm, that you progress to another level beyond it, and from there, then the progress, the spiritual development continues eternally.
So where do you see the future for Bahaism? Did I pronounce it right? Bahaism?
Bahaism.
Bahaism.
We're technically the rivals of the Baha'i religion. Where I see the future of this thing, well, it's been splintering and and fragmenting over the last several decades. In fact, last year the main Hyphen Baha'i organization lost a very well publicized court case in the Illinois court, in the Illinois appellate court, where they attempted to sue a rival group calling themselves the Orthodox Baha'is for trademark infringement. But where I see the future is this. It's that right now in places such as Washington, London, and Brussels, there are certain forces and actors that are attempting to use the Baha'is in their greater Islamophobic agenda. And basically they're using them as a political tool against Islamism, especially the regime in Iran. And I don't see this as a very good development at all. Because it is basically trying to socially engineer a new ideology into another country.
So who or what do you worship?
The Godhead.
And what?
The source, the one of many names.
And then what would you like? How do you define the Godhead?
The Godhead is being itself, the totality of being, the primal point, that which is beyond comprehension. Is the source of all things, It's the coincidence of all opposites. Everything that you can conceive, its opposite is also contained in it. It is the absolute light. It is beyond the light. It is everything.
Okay, everybody, listen, it is everything. And if you'd like to know more about everything and more than everything, and you'd like to talk about Grand Sheikh, the founder of Fatima, right? How do you say it? Fatimiyya, sorry about that, Sufi order. And if you'd like to hear more about that, go to the Raw Factor tab right now and vote. We're going to give out these results on Friday. So, Grand Sheikh, thanks for being on the air with us, and we'll be right back.
From beyond time. Go on the adventure of your life. An epic journey you will not forget. The Kingdom of Sagwanay. Order the Kingdom of Sagwanay today. Go to www.thekingdomofsagwanay.net or spirituallyraw.com.
We're back with Spiritually Raw. Call in today at 321-473-4253. Join us at spirituallyraw.com. And now more ass-whipping truth.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Spiritually Raw. So, how do you say that again? Fatimiyya Sufi order. That was fascinating.
I never heard of it
Where'd
before.
you find that?
Actually, on Facebook.
Yeah?
I read a little blog that he wrote.
Okay,
I thought it was interesting. Something I'd never heard of before. I wanted to learn more.
Okay, well, again, I think a lot of people are going to like this. Well, let's find out. Jenny, what'd you think about it?
I'm a little confused as to why, he calls himself an enemy of the Baha'is. That was confusing to me.
Why so?
Why so? Because these people...
Well, I'm just curious as to why. If you're saying, you believe in God and, excuse me, I'm a little hoarse, God and the source, how can you hate anybody? So I don't hate.
Let me explain something.
Okay.
I look at the Baha'i religion and the source of the Baha'i religion as illegitimate. Okay, hate is a little bit too strong a word. The fact
Can you tell me why they're illegitimate?
Because they founded themselves on claiming the religion of the Bayan by murdering all of the Bayani leaders in the 1860s and attempting to murder the successor of the Bab, who we claim as his successor. And they spent the last 140 years whether in print, in the academy, or in the media, in misrepresenting systematically everything that we're about, to the point that they have told their own people that we don't even exist. They have, by making us non-persons. I was recently at the Cambridge University manuscript collection belonging to E.G. Brown, who was a British Orientalist that studied the Bobbies and the Bayanis. And in that manuscript collection, I found, to my horror, that items of this manuscript collection had pieces of written pamphlet Baha'i propaganda put into it.
Did that answer your question, Jenny?
Well, personally, I think that all religions are propaganda, and only being spiritual without religion, without dogma, is the way to go. So anytime you say you have an enemy, that is totally ungodlike.
Okay.
I would disagree. Let me quote you from Rumi. This is a quote from Rumi. Okay, on the one hand, I see where you're going with this. On another hand, we live in a realm of opposition. In his Masnavi, Rumi says, when colorlessness became the captive of color, Moses went to war with Jesus, right? Saying that in this realm of multiplicity that we're living in, that opposition is inevitable. I think this is also another fallacy of the New Age, that they try to project everything in a very fluffy and very, very touchy kind of way. But the reality of it is that we do live in a world where one needs to take a position on certain things. One must take a position against things like abuse. One must take a position on lies and that sort of thing, which is what April quoted from my blog. Hate is a strong word, of course, but I'm out here trying to set the record straight for historical posterity as to what was done to the Bayani people over the last 160 years. And in that, we have been thwarted systematically by this organization in every conceivable way. As a matter of fact, just this weekend, an article that someone had initiated about the Fatimiyya Sufi order was nominated on Wikipedia for deletion, and they brought out all of their own editors, and it took 1 week, even though there was all these people that came from Facebook and elsewhere and said keep the article. These people on ideological grounds deleted the article. This has been our experience, that these people are systematically trying to stamp us out of existence, to marginalize us, and basically to continue with their own narratives about what we are.
Okay, hey everybody, we got to fly from this, but thanks again for clearing up that explanation. If you'd like to vote for the Grand Sheikh, have him back on and clear some misconceptions up about this, again, go to the Raw Factor tab and vote. So, with that said, let's talk about our special guest for the day.
Yes, Cosmic Dancer, a reincarnation fantasy for young adults and older souls by Leanne Downey. And she says her book not only deals with reincarnation, but travels into life between lives to higher dimensional worlds populated by luminous beings who serve her as teacher and guide. She says very few novels, if any, travel with their characters into a life between physical incarnations on Earth. Well, guess what? This one does. If you've ever wondered what you might have been up to before you were born, that is, quote, if you are a older soul who's on a path of learning, you will find vivid clues in her book.
Okay, let's welcome Leanne Downey back to the show. Hello, Leanne.
Good morning. Hello.
Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, I want to say I am a big fan of Pamela Osley. I used to teach a class called Spiritual Survival Skills for the 21st Century, and we used her books as textbooks because we thought life colors are something that everybody should know about.
All right,
it's really important knowledge.
So you're going to vote for her to come back on?
Absolutely, big yes.
All right, right on. Okay, there you go. Okay. So listen, to refresh our listeners' memories, why do you call Cosmic Dancer an interdimensional fantasy?
Yes, and that is the new subtitle, by the way. It's because we start out with a character who's just a teenage girl in this dimension, in this world, with all the teenager problems. She's 15 years old, and she suddenly begins to have psychic visions. And pretty soon we're looking at who she was in her previous lifetime, and we experience her death in a previous lifetime and some of her preparation before her present lifetime. And the book goes back and forth between dimensions, basically, between her in-between life experience and her present life experience.
So now, is this a book? Okay, thank you. Is this a book about you and your life?
Be sure to register your copy of Sam
well,
at www.spatialaudio.com.
What happens is you start out with the story idea.
Squishy inside what you do.
Telling you what to do, and some of what they told me to do was to include myself in the book. So, in some ways, there's some aspects of me, and in some ways, no. I didn't have psychic visions of that nature when I was a teenager, not until I was older. But the first chapter, the vision she has, is a vision I actually did have when I was an adult studying past life therapy. And I basically wrote the book because I wanted to share with the world my experiences in learning about my own past lives, and my experiences in my psychic visions of higher worlds. I am a violet life color, by the way, and I fit the description that Pamela gives.
Okay. So listen, who's they? Who are these they people that you're referring to that asked you to put yourself in this?
Oh, my characters. Actually, let's talk about some of those characters. The characters in the higher worlds it was a fascinating experience because when she wakes up in this higher world.
Well, if I can just stop you there real quick, if I can. But who is? Okay, I understand your book is of a fictional realm, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but however, though, when you were writing the book, you made a statement that they said to include yourself in the book. Who is they?
Okay, I guess you have to, when you write fiction, it sometimes seems like you build a character and you think that you're creating the character, and then the character kind of takes over when you sit down to write. And when I write, I am open to the universe, and I use my own higher spiritual guides work with me, if that's what you're asking. Of course, yes, my own spiritual guidance is involved in my writing process. So, but when I said they a few moments ago, I meant the characters in the book. They have a personality, and that they begin to say, well, here's what I'm going to say next. And I've totally confused everyone now.
Yeah, it's all good. And we're trying to get clear of this. Okay, so the characters in your book, again, I'm just trying to help bring validity to what you got here. So the characters in your book, they spoke to you and said, you need to put your own experiences in the book. Am I going so far? Am I right on the right track?
I think that's maybe I missed. It's a little bit of hyperbole to say they spoke to me in that sense. Let's back up a bit because I know I'm confusing everybody. I am an interdimensional communicator. I call myself an interdimensional journalist because I came from the field of journalism and kind of merged it with my spiritual studies. So I am what I would call a psychic transceiver. I am able to set aside my own ego consciousness and speak with higher inspirational guidance, we'll say, whatever it is that people believe that is. And I totally agree with Pam Osley about this, that everybody has their own interpretation of these things. Also, I don't believe in the white light thing, but and so I don't put white light around me when I do this. I open my consciousness and I interact with individuals in the higher worlds with whom I've formed relationships through my many, many past lifetimes.
Can you give us an example of who you're referring to or what you're referring to in these higher dimensions?
I can try. They don't like to be identified by personalities. Whenever you have a personality who's coming through a psychic channel, you can get into trouble that way.
What do they yell at you? I mean, what do they do? Do they yell at you? Do they take things away from you? I mean, what do they do?
They put you in timeout?
Yeah, right.
No. What do you mean, what do they do when I'm doing this psychic transceiving, or?
You said that they what did you say? They get mad at her?
They don't like to be referred to, or you could cause you trouble or something like that.
No, they don't present themselves in that way, although they can if it's necessary for people on Earth to know who's speaking. Is this Einstein? Is this Leonardo da Vinci? Is this Maria Theresa? Is that, that can be done. But here's what happens. An individual who lives on the planet, who is a great visionary leader, who is a great teacher, when they leave their physical body behind, they're not going to discontinue their work as humanitarians. They carry on. And in my universal belief system, they work in brotherhood, as a unit, millions of advanced souls working together for the benefit of humanity to try to help us along our road of evolution. And
like
in
a collective
so doing,
consciousness? So
What was that?
Like a collective consciousness?
Yeah, well, yes. They are individual consciousness. This isn't the, merging back with the infinite situation. This is a higher developing consciousness, and that is our potential as souls as well, that we have this infinite potential to develop our consciousness into greater and greater knowing of the universe. And when you do that, you tend to have the feeling of, I want to help humanity. I want to share my knowledge. I want to help the younger souls coming along behind. So that's a Violet Life Color mantra, by the way, but also these are more advanced individuals who, think of the greatest name. If you think of the greatest names in history, anyone whom you admire, they are very likely to be a part of this universal brotherhood.
Leanne, hold that thought. I've got to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the Cosmic Dancer.
Planetary alert. All citizens whose last names begin with the letter A report to your local implant center. All citizens whose last names begin with the letter A report to your local implant center. Failure to comply will result in having your utilities shut off and a warrant issued for your arrest for terroristic resistance. Welcome to the new age of Lucifer, and have a blessed day.
Coming of Antichrist is near. Who will force a Luciferic order upon the world and lead a second Holocaust? Learn how to escape 666 and the horror to come at www.satansrapture.com. Warning, this site is banned by Christianity and its churches.
We're back with Spiritually Raw. Call in today at 321-473-4253. Join us at spirituallyraw.com. And now more ass-whipping truth.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Spiritually Raw. So let's get right into this interdimensional fantasy. But actually, before we go there, Leanne, I want to ask you a question. Can you break it down for people, your view on what reincarnation is?
Okay, I can try. Well, that's one reason I wrote the story. It's an entertaining story, and we're changing the subtitle from young adult to more generic and interdimensional fantasy because we found out that people of all ages are really enjoying the book. My belief system is that we are energy beings, just as Pamela was talking about, that we are energy creations, and as such, everything we do and think and say is a little energy intelligence, like what we record on a computer disk, and we are traveling interdimensionally from one life to the next. And in between lives, we don't cease to exist. Some people are in a kind of a sleep state, and they reincarnate almost immediately. Those are younger souls. But as you develop your own consciousness, and this is your own personal responsibility to do, by the way, as you develop your consciousness, you begin to become more aware and awake in that time between lifetimes. And then you begin to learn that everything you've done in every lifetime becomes a little piece of energy information in what I would call your psychic anatomy or your energy body. And that information is what helps you rebuild your future physical earth bodies. And it also, you carry it with you. So it's like a recording that replays in your present lifetime. That's where the whole concept of past life therapy has arisen, because if you have a tape that's replaying that's not constructive for you, then it can be with your awareness, with your conscious awareness of that information, that, along with the associations you've made with higher frequency worlds, higher beings, your spiritual teachers and guides, they can help you to change that energy information in your psychic anatomy. This is a very personal process that goes on. Sometimes there's a healing catalyst, like a doctor or a psychic or a therapist or whatever you go to. It can just be your next door neighbor. Sometimes there's a catalyst or a series of events in your present life that brings about this healing situation. And sometimes a soul can work for thousands of years to get to that point of having that what seems like an instantaneous healing experience. But what they're doing is rectifying energy that has been embedded in their being for many lifetimes. It's quite fascinating and extensive study.
Are you getting it?
Well, yeah, but I had a question first, though, because I've heard you reference older and younger souls numerous times.
Yes.
So what do you consider a young soul in terms of time and age, and what do you consider an older soul in terms of time and age?
First of all, time and age are irrelevant in this concept, and it's kind of a loose. We have a language that doesn't really embody all of these concepts. So, older and younger are kind of arbitrary terms, and what I mean by that is someone who is unaware, a younger soul, someone who's unaware of the psychic aspects of life, of the energy aspects of life, of the higher worlds, of those who might be working with them from higher worlds. That person is basically sleeping through life, and maybe you've met some people who you've tried to talk to about spiritual concepts, and they just go, sure. They aren't there yet. They're not ready for that yet. It's not to put them down. They're just not at that stage in their personal evolutionary development from life to life.
So let me ask you this, though. Hold on for one sec. So now you have a philosopher, you have a scientist, quantum physics, quantum mechanics, totally advanced,
quantumized.
Gifted, intelligently gifted, but yet they don't really believe in the supernatural. So what would you consider them?
It's such an individual thing. It could be that that's where they've directed their learning for that particular lifetime, and so their expression of physics, because what I believe has a very scientific side, could be that their expression in let's say they're a physicist, they are learning something about energy, they are learning about the interdimensional cosmos, they are learning in a scientific avenue, and when you come along, or you or me or whoever comes along and starts speaking in terms where we use a different language and we're talking about spirit and such, we could be talking about the same thing, and they just don't connect with us on that same frequency of conversation. So it's an individual thing whether they're an older soul or a younger soul, and this has to do with life experience, many lifetimes lived. We all have probably in this planet lived thousands of lifetimes, if that helps.
Leanne, so if someone is a murderer in a previous lifetime, will they experience something similar in this lifetime?
I remember that question from a few minutes ago. Yeah. Not necessarily. It depends. They are going to experience the energy of that circumstance, no doubt, at some point in their future. That energy is not destroyed. Einstein showed us that. The energy will not be destroyed. So if they have committed any kind of act against someone else, it doesn't mean necessarily that that act is going to be exactly replayed against them. But that destructive energy will definitely operate within their energy system. So this is where we get some of our serious diseases and all the negations that can happen in someone's physical lifetime.
Now, can they travel back through another dimension towards what happened and try to fix that, to correct it, or are they just destined to have to face it in this lifetime at some point, that energy?
No, awareness is your tool that you want to develop. You know what I said about survival skills for the 21st century. The more you know about your own consciousness and how it functions, the better off you are. So if you learn of your past lives in a reliable, reputable way, and it rings true within you. There are a lot of people who give readings or who do hypnotic regressions, and they're not necessarily going to hit on the accurate information that you need. But without any of that helping aid, a person can become aware of their own past lives. If they study a little bit and learn the energy principles behind the reincarnation of consciousness, then knowing something of previous lives can help you to rectify that energy. You know, this is why I wrote this in a fictional form, in a fun little simple story, because it's complex. But you go through that with our character. It really explains and illuminates how this can come about. We do see my main character, Amelia's past lives. We get to experience some of her own past life flashbacks and how she's trying to sort this out in the present life with her relationships with her family and her boyfriends and so on.
So can you yourself go to another dimension right now?
No, I'm stuck in this dimension right now as long as I'm in this physical body. But yes, it's mentally, we all can, and we do every night when we go to sleep.
Into our dream state?
Yeah, in our dream state.
So that's not necessarily a dream, that's a dimension?
It's yes, and one of the things that I really hope people begin to learn is that there are many levels once you're out of body, or even if you're just attuning to an out of body state, or using your psychic abilities, which we all have. They are undeveloped, but people need to learn that there are many levels of expression in this infinite universe, both in the world we're in and in the other worlds. So if you're going to contact someone on the other side, say, you need to know, who is that person? Would you let them in the front door of your house? Who are you talking to? What's their background? You know how you discern when you make friends and who you're going to hang out with. You need to be discerning about who you're contacting on the other side. So I personally, in my studies, have always striven to reach the highest levels, the highest frequencies of consciousness, and that's an ongoing development. But I see many people get trapped and caught in a little eddy current with some entities on the other side who are not serving them well. Who are a little bit mischievous and in it for their own fame and glory, so on and so forth. The individuals on the other side, they can wreak havoc in someone's life. So it's not something to tamper with lightly.
And who or what would you refer to as the highest energy vibration that you've connected with?
Well, I would turn that right back around on you and say, who would you consider to be the highest frequency contact that you've had in your either physical life or in your psychic awareness?
But why?
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah, but why would you turn it back? I mean, it's just a question.
Oh, sure. For me, you want names or frequencies? I would suppose the levels of archangels and, that's the Earth terminology. I think of them as highly evolved beings who may express in ways that we can't even conceive in our consciousness. That because once you get to that level, it's beyond gender, it's beyond name, it's a very high frequency energy. On the other hand, there are individuals who played roles in my book. I believe that we have a contact in the book. Oh, I don't want to give it away, but I'll give you one name, Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
How's that for a name? There's a very evolved soul who we can all admire, and he came in and agreed to play a role in the book.
Okay, so listen.
And since there's a sketch of him in the book, I don't think I'm giving away too much.
Wait, Shay, I want to ask. Okay, so he agreed to come in. Did he just pop in one day? Did you invite him? How did he get there?
What's that?
How did he get there?
This is a mental connection, mental attunement, and as
were you thinking of them?
Received this energy, wrote these words, spoke these words, whichever way I was working on that particular day, sometimes at the keyboard, sometimes speaking vocally. And most of this book was done at the keyboard. At that point, I just recognized his frequency. This is all about frequency relationship. I recognized his energy. Apparently, he's been my teacher, and not in the lifetime of Gandhi, but in previous lives. And that's there you have it. I just had the inner vision of his identity.
You just knew that you knew, right?
Yeah, and it was like this book was like play. It was like okay, now he's going to play this role.
Okay. Hey, Leanne, real quick, I got a note here that you're planning on giving away 2 copies of your book today for our listeners. How can they participate in this?
That sounds exciting.
I will give away a book to the 7th and 11th people who send me an email at bookprize7@gmail.com. That's book, BOOKPRIZE, bookprize7@gmail.com. And the 7th and the 11th people who send me an email, that's all you have to say, book giveaway or whatever, I will contact them, ask for their mailing address, and send them a copy of the book. And it'll be a souvenir copy because it has the earlier edition cover, and it has a beautiful painting by Josephine Wall, world-famous artist, and I don't know how long that will be available. So
that is very, very thoughtful of you.
Cosmic Dancer, everybody.
That's my thank you for letting me be on.
You got it. You got it. Definitely. So, Cosmic Dancer, a reincarnation fantasy for young adults and older souls from Leanne Downey. So, listen, Leanne, real quick, where can they find you? Where's your website?
The best place to find me is on Amazon's author page. If they go to Amazon and they type in the title of the book and Leanne, Lianne Downney, just click on my name. It'll take you to my author page, and my blog is linked into my author page. It's called Soul Pursuits, and that's the best way to find me.
All right, right on. All the luck in the world with your book there. And, wow, from colors to, religions to, reincarnation and interdimensions. Another normal day on Spiritually Raw, right?
We cover it all. With that, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, tune in often. Tell all your friends. But most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Many blessings.